Jim mentions undoing things. There is this shakeup of the Dow today. NVIDIA is being added to the blue chip index, and as a result, Intel is out after a 25-year run. S&P Dow Jones Indices says it wanted to ensure a representative exposure to semis. Sherwin-Williams will join the Dow as well, replacing Dow Inc., and those changes effective prior to the open of trading on Friday. Jim today mentions the lack of money index to the Dow.
I mean, this is the type of thing, before David gets into his atavistic rap about Dow Jones. This came out, I was doing my show. I have a show. And every time I say my show, my wife says it's the network show, it's not your show.
It is, they own it.
Right, but suddenly NVIDIA's up 3 on this. Of course, David, there's no money really indexed to it.
There's no money indexed to it.
This reverses.
Atavistic,
right? This
anachronistic, however you want to talk about it, something out of its proper place and time. It is a price-weighted index. It is statistically insignificant. They had to keep it price-weighted because they started it that way, and why we even spend time talking about it is beyond.
Okay, I'll tell you why. We do, because even though I say NVIDIA, only don't trade it, NVIDIA will go back to where it was Friday before this announcement came, and Intel is the one you want to buy. Pat Gelsinger and I, tight.
What did you just say? What came out of your mouth just now?
Told you, Pat Gelsinger and I are tight. That stock's done going down. It's ridiculous.
The sun also rises. I'm just reading it now. Tight means drunk. Just letting you know.
Pat's not even
Hemingway.
Pat doesn't drink.
I know. I'm just saying. Things change. But back then,
talk about being inconsistent. Isn't he a Wall of Shame alum?
You were drunk.
No, Intel bottomed. That was a very good quarter. Pat Gelsinger showed tremendous humility. And I think that matters because before we got bravado, and he basically said, listen, we're a little behind. We're going to catch up. They don't have any really
Speaking of inconsistencies, are you now going positive on Intel?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing here?
Absolutely.
What?
I am.
What if Speaker Johnson and President Trump try to repeal the CHIPS Act, as we heard a lot today Friday night?
Wow. I mean, you just have empty shell buildings? I think it's hard.
Intel hasn't gotten any money yet anyway. They haven't met the
they won't meet it because
they need to.
They will meet it because your pals at Brookfield.
I need a minute here.
Your pals at Brookfield, they made it happen.
I wasn't here on Friday or Thursday, so I don't know if I missed this.
Try not to miss work, and you'll get the insight.
I was working on Thursday.
That's right. You came in. You had an idea that we were going to go with Zaslav. What was that? The Zaslav trade? What is that? I have to see Zaslav see where I'm working.
Give me a quick summary of why you have suddenly changed course on Intel.
Because after the election, Qualcomm said they might or may not buy Intel. In the meantime, Intel bit the bullet, took the losses, took the charge. Their CFO prevailed. On the call, Gelsinger did not say, we're number one, we're the best. He admitted they almost had New York Giants status, if I can really go there. Anyone worse? Not that I know of. And I feel like that it's a brand new Intel.
So it couldn't get worse, so it only can get better.
The stock market is buzzing with the latest headline-grabbing news that NVIDIA Corp is set to replace Intel Corporation in the iconic Dow Jones Industrial Average starting November 8th. This news has market insiders and investors buzzing, pondering the significance of this shakeup in one of the oldest and most prestigious stock market indexes. Both NVIDIA and Intel are giants in the tech sector, making this transition particularly intriguing. With NVIDIA's innovative strides in artificial intelligence and chipmaking, its inclusion in the Dow has been seen by many as a pivotal moment for the tech-driven future of the market. But that's not all. Sherwin-Williams Co. also makes an impressive debut into the Dow, paving the way for intriguing shifts in market dynamics. What does this all mean for the investors who are constantly seeking the next big stock move? Let's dive in to find out. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
Okay, I thought what we would do, which could be constructive for our viewers, is take stock of the things that really worked this week. NVIDIA, let's just start there. 8.5% gain this week. It finally topped Apple in terms of its market cap. Joins the Dow today. It's a new record high today. There's the market cap race between these two companies, 3.6T versus 3.4T. In terms of NVIDIA, you own the stock. So how are we thinking about something that obviously worked really well today? We'll start here with NVIDIA.
I think that the playbook was set up, that if you listen to Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they talked about spend, and we all know NVIDIA is getting a chunk of that spend. And so their earnings come out, I think it's November 20th, actually.
Yeah, it is the 20th.
Right? And so they're going to crush it again. And I think Jensen delivers the goods. And so I think after we've had these earnings come out with the hyperscalers who are just printing cash and then spending that cash, we know it's going to go to NVIDIA. And so I think this trade is going to last at least another few quarters in terms of people moving to NVIDIA. And you have the opportunity, right? The stock was between 100 and 130 for a couple months and basing out. And so now it's breaking out of that. I think it's going to break out going into the earnings.
That's basically how Jefferies, Brian, is thinking about it. They look at this stock along with Marvell and then Broadcom as having the most upside because of that. Exactly what Bryn said. The hyperscalers are accelerating their spend. They're telling you they're going to spend more. They're telegraphing what's coming. And to Bryn's point, well, where does the majority of that money go? Probably NVIDIA, with some others.
Well, I think Kevin said it best. We're going to buy the news. I think Jensen is going to deliver the goods. We're going to buy the fundamentals ahead of that. What's really interesting about the semiconductor space as an industry, we've been talking, excuse me, a long time about stock picking, right? And the dispersion side of things has been increasing. Dispersion of performance, fundamental performance, technical performance, valuation. So that really speaks to honing in on the issues that you want to be in. And NVIDIA clearly is the leader there.
Broadcom, you own Broadcom too.
Broadcom as well. And so then you've got to think about, okay, so when is AMD going to get going? If you want to start thinking about stock picking and kind of getting in early, that's why we're kind of looking more and more at AMD, because maybe the next big performance push in 2025 can come from a stock like that.
Yeah, stock is had a decent week, right? With everything else, a rising tide is ultimately going to lift many, if not all, boats. AMD's up about 5% on the week. Kevin, you own NVIDIA and Broadcom.
NVIDIA for me is the best of times, worst of times story because it got entered into the Dow Jones Industrial Average today, which is a benchmark against our flagship dividend portfolio, and yet we're handcuffed from owning it because the dividend's like a rounding error. On the other side, in our growth strategy, we own it, and it's crushing it, and we're really excited about that. But it's going to make my job tougher benchmarking against the Dow.
Yeah, well, maybe there'll be a dividend story to talk about with this company in the future.
From your mouth to God's.
Right? I mean, I don't know. They're going to have so much cash falling all over the place that maybe they'll need to return some more to shareholders. We shall see.
As the Dow Jones Industrial Average prepares to welcome NVIDIA Corp, market observers are reflecting on this strategic transition that captures the shifting tides of the technology world. NVIDIA's addition reflects its growing influence as a chip maker, riding the massive wave of artificial intelligence advancements. It's no wonder Chief Strategist Jay Woods from Freedom Capital Markets had predicted NVIDIA's potential inclusion, recognizing its role as a leader in the next era of tech growth. Jokingly put, it seems like Intel divested so NVIDIA could invest, given the significant contrast in their recent performance. While NVIDIA's shares have skyrocketed by 188.1% year-to-date in 2024, Intel has unfortunately dipped by 52.9%. NVIDIA's growing relevance in the tech sector becomes apparent when considering its place as the second largest weighting in both the S&P 500 and the Technology Select Sector Spider Fund, demonstrating its pivotal role in market trends. But before we go any further, if you want to keep up with NVIDIA's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates.
Let's turn now to NVIDIA, pulling back a bit today in its first session as a member of the Dow, but still sharply higher on the week. Seema Modi has a closer look at the move. Seema.
Morgan, it feels like a long time coming, but NVIDIA joined the Dow today, replacing Intel, and shares were down slightly in the first day in the index. But we know NVIDIA has emerged as one of the largest companies in the world, but it took some time for that to play out. Of course, the AI revolution helping the company outperform. Remember, the Dow is a price-weighted index, so even though NVIDIA is a nearly $4 trillion company, it is only around the 21st most expensive stock in the index. Contrast that impact with the S&P 500, where NVIDIA is weighted at more than 7% of the entire index. While shares have rallied since the news, history shows us that additions to the Dow don't always lead to higher gains. In fact, Honeywell, Walgreens underperformed the stocks they replaced 1 year after the change was made. The reason? Well, a lot of analysts say most of these companies had such a strong run-up into their Dow inclusion that gains were likely already priced in. For NVIDIA, this means there may not be much more to gain by adding to the Dow, but we know AI as a way, has been a powerful driver to offset historical trends. Look at case in point this week and this year, one of the best performing stocks, and earnings are less than 2 weeks away, Morgan.
All right, we'll watch it. Seema Modi, thank you. A lot of good context there. Let's bring in Mike Santoli for a broader look at the reshuffle in the Dow. And of course, Mike, it's worth noting, talking about a price-weighted average, not a cap-weighted one.
Exactly, and just to amplify what Seema was saying, here's where NVIDIA sits in terms of its weighting in the S&P 500 as the largest company in the world. 7.1% of that index. It's only 2.1% of the Dow weight because it has a relatively lower share price. And then you see Sherwin-Williams also entering the Dow today. It's only 0.2% in the S&P 500. However, it's the sixth most influential stock at this point in the Dow because it does have a much higher share price, good for about 7.2% of the Dow. So there you have the quirks of the antiquated Dow Jones Industrial Average coming into play. Now take a look at some more specific numbers on how entrants and stocks exiting the Dow have done historically. This is from Ned Davis Research. So this is the point at which a stock goes in or out of the Dow Jones Industrial Average throughout history. So you see those that are getting kicked out, they've been bad performers. That's why they get kicked out. On some level, there's a momentum representation type of story here. But starting a little while after they're out, they start to outperform again. Those entering the Dow, you see that they've generally been positive because markets are generally positive, not as aggressive, but they continue to do okay for a while. So it's not a pure contrarian call.
On another note, Sherwin-Williams steps into the spotlight by joining the Dow, showcasing a different facet of industry leadership and sector representation. Its share price, leaping to an admirable $372.97, grants it a prominent rank within the Dow index. The move not only supplements the materials sector presence within the index, but also signals a broader strategic restructuring that places market performance at the forefront. The underlying strategy of the Dow, favoring price-weighted metrics over alterations in market capitalization, further sharpens the narrative around these stock evolutions. Unlike the S&P 500, which heavily weighs market caps, Dow's system often leads to intriguing shifts where share price plays the leading role. NVIDIA and Sherwin-Williams seem to embody this shift well, contributing to a richer and perhaps more dynamic complexion within the traditional index. These adjustments also portray shifting narratives within industries. For example, Dow Inc.'s removal signals a phase-out of older economic stalwarts in favor of innovative leaders. All of this points to a broader evolution where tech innovations in the Dow become more pronounced, promising exciting futures for investors who stay in the loop with these developments. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
In tech, obviously, you have to think about some of the companies differently. I think with Elon involved going forward, things like crypto or AI are going to get a lot more focus. So names like NVIDIA, and less regulation, which will help things like Google potentially not getting broken up, obviously should benefit Tesla as they get treated more fairly relative to the unionized big three Detroit automakers. And so I think those are names that you think about and say, that could be a lot more interesting going forward than it was in the past.
The inclusion of NVIDIA in the Dow Jones Industrial Average is more than just a change in listings. It's an indicator of the market's forward-looking stance on technological progress and industry-leading innovation. The index's evolution underscores the emphasis on companies that aren't just performing well today, but are poised for dynamic growth, hallmarks of what makes a truly visionary stock. Forecasts appear bright for NVIDIA, with expectations building upon its already impressive trajectory in artificial intelligence and modern chip development. As for Sherwin-Williams, its robust presence amplifies the materials sector's representation, aligning the index more closely with diverse economic growth narratives that resonate with current market realities. Both NVIDIA and Sherwin-Williams, by joining the esteemed ranks of the Dow, highlight the shifting definition of what it means to be a blue-chip company, favoring growth, innovation, and strategic prowess over traditional dividend benchmarks. As the landscape continues to evolve, one must ponder, are these stocks the next titans of tomorrow's economy? Now that you've heard the scoop, what are your thoughts on this financial drama? Do you see NVIDIA and Sherwin-Williams as stocks that could dominate the future market? Your insights and opinions are valued in this ever-changing financial theater. And finally, if you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there!